want to get a little bit more specific with the coaching surf and some of the surge, excuse me, and some of the candidates. Marco Sturm being, I don't know if he's at the top, but among the top. We've been talking about him for a couple weeks now, and his name is still circling where other names have kind of fallen off. So that being said, we don't know what we're getting with when you don't know someone personally, but you do. So what are your thoughts there on player versus coach is a different person, but on Marco and what he could bring to a Bruins organization again?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I put an asterisk beside everything just because I haven't been, coached by these guys, and it's I kind of, it isn't my place to be giving my 2 cents. Like, I don't know, but I can definitely speak to, Marco as a player and a person, and he's incredible in both categories. An absolute competitor. I mean, I think going back to, guys that were in that little era that when I was there. There are a few that you're like, damn, I wish that guy could have been on our team when we won, because he deserved it. And he's at the top of that list. Marco, in practice, in day-to-day life, he was a fierce competitor, very serious. He took his job. He was a real professional about it. Like, he took his job very seriously, which sounds silly to say, but like, that's not always the case. Some guys are just there to play hockey and have fun. I'm in the NHL and this is great. But he was very serious about his preparation, the way he trained, the way he practiced hard. And yeah, he was one of those guys that you could always count on. Like, you always knew what you were going to get. He was very consistent and in his effort and preparation. So I think like those are all qualities, like, to me, that are, of course, he's a good coach, because those things transfer over into that world very well. So, like I said, yeah, I never had him behind the bench. Obviously, I've seen him and his progress over the years since he retired, and he's definitely one of those guys I smile for, because he deserves it for sure. Really good guy. I like I said, I don't want to heap too much praise just based on it, but he's easy to heap praise for because of the quality of person he is.
Mark Savard also said to be a candidate as well, another former teammate of yours. But I wanted to ask you this, Andrew. When you were playing, and you mentioned all of those qualities that Marco Sturm had as a teammate, were there guys who you played with over the years that you were like, yeah, this guy's going to be a head coach someday?
Yeah. Not really. There's you always wonder, I guess, a bit. Like, there's certain guys you kind of look around, and some are pretty surprising when they get into coaching. To me, the thing about coaching now is, especially with guys with a long career, and I went through it myself, like, you get to the end of a very long career, and even from thinking about Marco specifically, Marco is the reason why I asked for a no trade clause in my last contract with the Oilers, because I watched him, and the end of his career, he got bounced around. I don't know how many teams he played for, like probably 4, or was it even 5 maybe in the last 3 years or something like that. And he had a young family. He was a great dad too, like he was very, very involved with his family, and very, into his kids and what they were doing and stuff like that. And so the end of his career, he bounced around to, I don't know, somebody correct, you guys can correct me. You guys are with Nesson, you can fact check it.
Yeah, yes. Well, no, I mean, he went from Boston to the Kings, to the Caps, to the Canucks, and to the Panthers. That's where he ended up.
Yeah, in just a couple of years.
Right, so, exactly, consecutive years, right.
So he, you get to an end of a long career like that, and then you're presented with the opportunity of like, what now? And yeah, coaching's attractive as far as like, I want to stay in the game, have another chance at winning the cup, doing all this stuff. But you're jumping right back into the world of the grind, right? Like, I don't know what his journey is exactly, but I know he's over in Europe and coached the national team, and he was in the AHL for a while. And like, you're back on the bus and you're back on the schedule and doing the thing. And so probably the biggest perk of retiring from a long career of playing is just your schedule, right? Like, getting your life back to a certain degree. And so to jump back into coaching, like, I guess even if a guy could be a really good coach, like, sometimes you wonder, like, does he really want that lifestyle, to just continue on? And so, yeah, 2 things, I guess, could be true at the same time. I could obviously see the coaching qualities that he would have, and obviously, certain guys of how they would be. But I won't lie, I'm surprised that, like I said, after jumping around like that and bouncing around, that you'd want to get straight back into coaching and kind of continue the wheel of moving around every year or two.
We're going to send it to break right after this really quick follow-up because I want to kind of loop this or bow tie this coaching chat, and then we'll get into some other stuff on the other side of the break. But really quick, we're hearing a lot about the new NHL. I think that's been like a term for a long time, but in terms of the different styles, coaching styles from 50 years ago, let's say, to today. And as you mentioned in your answer to Adam, it depends on what kind of player you are in terms of what works, what you want, what you don't want. But any specific coaching traits, whether it is conversations, constant conversations and communication, whether it is pushing you in practice, whatever, XYZ, that really stood out to you and shaped you as a player that you liked out of your coaches? Anything stand out that worked for you that you feel like translates into today's game?
Oh, 100%. I mean, like I said, I think the best coach I ever had was honest, and honesty isn't always nice, but it's honest, and it's not just negative honesty, right? Like I think that there's positive reinforcement, which is important, but it has to come from a real place. But you have to be honest about the negatives as well, and in areas of improvement. So. Coaches that can create a world that's very black and white, you know exactly what your role is, you know exactly what's expected of you, all those things. They're not kind of this gray area of like, what am I supposed to be doing? Who am I supposed to be? What kind of player does he want me to be? What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? Like, there's a lot of coaches that don't properly, let their players know some of those very basic things. And so I think coaches that are very honest, that aren't afraid of confrontation and telling a star player what he might need to be doing better, or what parts of his game are going to help his career, and then holding people accountable. Because it's easy to say some of those things, and like, this is who we're going to be, and this is what our culture is going to be, and this is the type of team that we're trying to develop. And then you don't hold people accountable for it. Like, it's crazy. Like it's very easy to set the vision. It's much harder to hold people accountable, to achieve it. And so, I had coaches that were incredible at that, and they weren't always the nicest people, and they weren't always the best spoken or whatever. But I always had the most respect for guys that were incredibly honest about me as an individual, and this is what I need from you, and this is, you're a professional now, this is what's expected of you. But then I knew that they were doing the exact same for the rest of my teammates, from the stars all the way down to the fourth line, and it's just across the board, right? So I think that kind of accountability and honesty is the number one thing that a coach can do. And new NHL or not, like I said, you don't have to run around and be a dictator and jerk about it, but you can be honest and hold people accountable in a productive way, right? Like, you don't have to be mean or some kind of drill instructor to do that. So, and also, like, don't bring players in that can't take that. If you can do the Mishi and score a cool goal, and you got great hands and you can skate really fast, but you can't take criticism, like, I don't want you on my team. Don't bring guys like that in.